Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Entrepreneur, international media mogul, and mental health expert Joseph Bonner is today's guest. Joseph will talk about his vast experience in business, as well as his work as a human rights executive and motivational speaker.
Viewers, get ready for a well-deserved, lengthy introduction. Entrepreneur, international media mogul, mental health expert, human rights executive, and motivational speaker, Joseph Bonner. Welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. That's one of the longest intros. I guess my asthma is getting better because I got it all through in one breath. So, busy guy. Joseph Bonner, let's first talk about you being a busy kid. Tell me about your childhood. Where did this all start?
Oh, man. Ooh, childhood. That's a great question. I'm based in San Diego, born and raised. I grew up with a very strong, network of love and support with my family. Although I wasn't raised by my mother or my father, I had a collective of aunts who were very meticulous on making sure that I was growing up to be a well-respectable and caring young man. So they are the ones who have spearheaded me in my life and have helped me to craft, to think outside the box, and to never feel inferior despite any environment that I was placed in. So.
That's great. We talked earlier, and I did teach for over 30 years, and for 8 years we're in the Bronx. And for the years that I taught, 78% of my students were on free and reduced lunch, came from single families. So the number of people who were really brought up by their grandparents or their aunts, as you said, and uncles and whatnot, really a huge number. So I think you're truly blessed that you had that support system, because truly shapes who you are. It really does. So, yeah. So I've done and continue to do a lot of anti-bullying presentations in my career. So tell me about your experience as a person I know you were bullied in school, and I know you've now, as an adult, are turning that around. So tell me how that first started with you being bullied and how you got to be an anti-bullying presenter.
That's a great question. I mean, I was bullied in school when I was in sixth grade, but it was a very short stint because I had a lot of cousins who also attended the school that I went to. And as a sixth grader, I was very quiet. I was very docile. I was very non-confrontational when I was very young. So I had always had people that would stick up for me when I would say nothing. And thankfully I had that. It would be other kids, it'd be my family members. So by the time I had gotten into high school, I had found myself. I was very confident in who I was, and I really didn't care so much about haters. And so for me, I was now my opportunity to defend others who had been bullied. So I would always look for opportunities to support my peers on the school campus who were facing injustices or who felt just more uncomfortable just being in the arena space that they were in and being, I guess you can say, judged by other students. Actually, in high school, which is a funny story, because before I got into my anti-bullying work as an adult, I appeared in CBS television speaking about bullying, on Court TV speaking about bullying as well, as a young person, when I was still in my teens. So this has always been something I think that's always been close to my heart. Just as I've gotten older, it's just now I have more of a platform to do something about it.
Well, that's great work and near and dear to my heart. But I'm not underplaying, for lack of a better term, what bullying was back when I was a kid, and even when you were a kid. But when I was a kid, it was either you're fat, you're ugly, you suck at sports, or getting pushed or something like that. But now it is so much more vile, and because of social media, so much more damaging to the person being bullied, to people, to the family members, because teen suicide, much of it stemming from bullying, is on the rise in our country. It has been for years. So how do you continue to do your part to end teen bullying via the Bully Avengers?
For me, it's more important that I attack multiple issues simultaneously, just because I feel like it'd be unfair for me just to focus on teen bullying and school bullying. So although when I first started the Bully Avengers, that was our primary focus on helping our parents and our children have additional resources and online and in-personal support navigating through their bullying situation with school, with with the district, which is sometimes very complicated for parents and used to work through when they're being victimized, and as well as media outlets. So I started there, but today the Bully Avengers encompasses much more than just bullying for young people. We also deal with international human rights violations. So we defend men, women, and children who are basically being bullied either by establishments, by agencies, by institutions. And we show up to that fight, making sure that we provide proper legal recommendations for government agencies, families, corporations, so that the fight can continue to happen on a level where they can see some change, if that makes any sense. However, we do this without getting involved in politics. I don't touch politics with a 10-foot pole, but we do it through established rule of law. So we find the laws that already are applicable, and we attack from that angle. Another thing that we also do through the Bully Avengers, because again, we're talking about defending not just peoples, but we're also talking about defending cultures. So we have an anthropology research center that we've also established, and that allows us to now protect some of these more vulnerable cultures and societies that have also, are seeing, a potential dangers in having it eradicated or completely erased. And so for that, we do a lot of anthropology work and research to make sure that we're providing, again, government support to protect the cultural heritage that they do have, and not allow those things to be demolished and destroyed based on trends and, economic change, if that makes any sense.
Sure. And I love that you're doing it at both ends of the spectrums, because I have, as an educator, I have the belief that if you start young, when they're middle school, high school, hopefully there won't be a need for us, and certainly your company, to get involved with the larger, the corporations and things of that nature. That has not been the case, unfortunately. So I love the fact that so many people think that bullying only takes place in schools, in day camps or sleepaway camps, among, for lack of a better term, young people. That's not the case. With social media, people on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, look at these celebrities who are bullying people, on talk shows, and who are doing it on social media. So I love that you're hitting both ends of the spectrum, and that legal aspect of it is so important, because a lot of these people, they tend to sometimes be in the victim category, and information is power and knowledge is power, and they don't have the knowledge available to them. So it's great that the Bully Avengers gives them that course of action. I think that's amazing. I know that you're involved in so many things. So, there's music, there's your magazine, and we're going to hit all that stuff. But what made you flip the switch? I think it was in 2014, and kind of change careers and change your path.
Well, I was in education for about 10 years, and I worked, with every age, probably in every position that you could work in education. And I did that because, number one, kids are my heart. You know what I mean? I will fight to the death for any child. So, however, when you're working, at least with the schools and with the districts, you're extremely limited, and I believe the impact that you can make. At least for me, I felt limited. And I don't like to feel like there's limits placed, especially when we're dealing with helping and protecting individuals. Like, you're not going to tell me I can't do this. Like, I don't care who you are. I'm going to fight for this child. I'll lose the job. I don't care. So for me, it was just like, although I appreciated working through the systems and getting the experience that I got working in education was truly invaluable. But I felt, because of the limits that it placed on me and my abilities to effectively help, I was like, I need to find an outlet to be able to do this. And so as I was kind of exploring and researching new careers, I stumbled across the most ridiculous thing ever. I like how this all led to where I'm at today. So I was working at my desk. I was running a community center, and I was working at my desk, and one of the kids, he's doing art. He's drawing on some paper, as kids do. And then before he leaves the office, he comes up to me. He says, "Mr. Bonner, this is for you." I said, "Oh, thank you. Thank you for the art. And he says, "You can hang it on the wall." And I look at it, and it says on the words there, it says, "Dream big." I said, I said, "Dream big." I said, "What does this mean? Like, what is this supposed to mean?" And he looks at me, in the 11-year-old childish voice, he says, "Mr. Bonner, it means whatever you want it to mean." And I was like, what? Like, what? You know what I mean? It's like this little kid was like inspiring me to like, Mr. Bonner, you shouldn't. And all the kids would always tell me, they're like, "Mr. Bonner," they're like, "you shouldn't be here." They're like, "What are you doing here working with us?" They're like, what they were saying was that, "Mr. Bonner, you could do so much more for us in the community if you did something else." So that's kind of what I think pushed me out of the educational spectrum and kind of allowed me to venture into some of these other things that I'm doing. That's the Reader's Digest version of the story.
Yeah, look, there's no embarrassment. An 11-year-old changed the course of your life. I'm loving that because the things that kids have said, and I was mostly high school, but I had some middle school too. They're just they're really walking the walk and talking the talk sometimes. So I love the fact that that resonated with you so much. So tell me about.
I want to say this too because I'm a man of faith, and I'm going to say this. It's like the things that I do, are the things that I set the goals to do. I believe that I am personally being set up for success by my Creator. So I do believe that He will use people and individuals and situations around me to continue to guide me to where I want to be. And I appreciate anybody that I've had in my life who my Father in heaven has been honored to use to support me and help me to kind of, get my little act together and move forward in the goals that I have set for myself.
Okay, so faith in any kind of higher power is very important to so many people, and I'm glad you're a man of faith and you use that in your business model. And when it comes to the different businesses, what made you flip the switch to go into music? I know kind of why you left education. I think you wanted to touch even more lives than you already were. So, how did music enter into this?
I don't consider myself a musical artist. I just do music just because it's therapeutic. I don't consider myself good at it. I like the outlet. I like the artistic outlet of music. So when we were producing, a few of the little songs that we do have out there, I just enjoy the opportunity just to write and to express in a musical form. You know what I mean? It's just for me, it's very therapeutic. It's just, I love it. So although I do not pursue music as a career, I think that if you can find an outlet that allows you to be able to express yourself in a positive way, in a constructive way, go for it. You know what I mean? Why not? You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. So that's why I do music. It's my outlet, my constructive outlet.
Got it. There's been so much success for you, but on my show, I like to talk about the story behind the glory. So what are some of the struggles you experienced during your years in doing all these things, either the anti-bullying, the magazine, which we'll get into in a moment, all the other things that you've done? What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome?
Well, I think they're mainly obstacles some of the obstacles are obstacles that I feel like I am directly responsible for finding a way around and adjusting and changing. Like, for example, when I first started my magazine back in 2015, it was wonderful to receive support from the teams of like Oprah Winfrey and Taylor Swift. When I first started my platform, it's like, I'm just starting out. So this was like, wow. But obviously when you're first starting out anything, you're not good at it. At least I didn't think I was. It was my first couple of issues were horrible. But you got to start horrible to eventually get better. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful that throughout this journey, I think my biggest obstacle was learning how to develop a magazine that presents itself, that reflects who I am as an individual, but that also allows an opportunity for other professionals across the world to present their own personal stories and their journeys, but do so in a professional and besides the word professional, how do I want to say it? But to present it in a way that is appealing globally and internationally. And that's not just through writing and through words, but also throughout, the magazine platform, its outline, its layout, all of the above, right? So perfecting my skills in the publishing industry has been my biggest obstacle, at least for me. And I love it, because there's always something to learn and there's always something to do better with. As far as other obstacles, I think it's just the standard obstacles that most African Americans face, in America, or just globally, as Africans face globally. It's just you have to deal with, unfortunately, still ignorance globally. And I don't really feel that that's an obstacle for me to overcome. However, what it does allow me to do is it allows me to continue just to understand the society that I'm in, and not allow those negative things to throw me off my game, and to continue to look at the goals that I've set for myself as well as my company. That's what it's all about.
Love that. And I have to tell you that you use the word ignorance in a way that I think it should be used. It has a negative connotation and tends to mean stupid, which is not how you use it. Ignorance is lacking knowledge. So because people lack knowledge about your culture and some other cultures, that can become and has become a hindrance for so many people I've interviewed because of their ethnic background, their religion, their political beliefs, and things of that nature. So I want to hear more from the heart of Joseph Bonner. What is the goal of this magazine? It started with something in your head and you've made it what it is today. What do you want your magazine to be? And what is the message you really want to portray to the readers?
Well, see, as a businessman, obviously, for me, it's always been making sure that I have platforms that can be used across the spectrum globally. So I have multiple magazines that I publish. I will start with three of the bigger magazines that I have. Was Legend Magazine. Legend Magazine was my first magazine. And the objective of Legend Magazine was to share stories of celebrities, because people respect celebrities and celebrities pull advertisers. So I knew that going into the game. But to share those stories in a non-tabloid way, to be able to find the journey behind this career path that they've chosen, and then to find inspiring golden nuggets, as we could say, that people could use to kind of spearhead their own journey, their own goals. And that was the objective of Legend Magazine when we started it, and it's still the objective of Legend Magazine to this day. Now, the other magazine that I publish is Court Magazine. Court Magazine is obviously, it says it in the name, so we deal with legal issues, especially legal human rights issues that need to be addressed and need to be fixed through established rule of law. So Court Magazine is the publication that I firmly believe will make some major changes in this world by telling the stories that need to be told, as well as outlining the laws that apply in various situations where human rights laws and civil rights laws are being either ignored or outright defied by either individuals, institutions, or even in some cases governments. So that's Court Magazine. I love Court. And then my magazine that's named after me, Joseph Magazine, it deals with more mental health based content, because I'm always about helping people to let's get to that next level, let's do better, let's one up. So more like a coaching, and so people who advertise or people who interview in these magazines that I present are usually individuals who can either share their story, lend their story, their journeys to also help inspire other individuals.
Well, that so much information to unpack because there's different types of magazines. So I want to first ask about Court Magazine really quickly. So do you work with some kind of legal team? Do you have researchers that say who decides what law is being featured in that issue?
Well, we have a great expert legal research team that allows us to be able to dig into the international and local laws. And one thing I have to understand too about laws is laws constantly change. And so a law that may be valid yesterday may not be valid today. And so it is important to make sure that the research that we're presenting, as well as the legal arguments, are completely up to date and using established, again, rule of law. These are local, national, international laws to make sure that the arguments that we present are indeed factual. And what we do sometimes is we'll take these articles and we'll take, especially if in regards to organizations and institutions and governments, depending on what our objective is, we'll take this issue or we'll take these magazines and we'll send it to government officials. We'll send it to presidential teams. We'll send it off to the United Nations, whoever we need to send it to make sure that this is brought to the forefront. I think the last biggest issue that we did where we covered human rights violations by the Pope. So a case that we took to the International Criminal Court, a case that we're still waiting to hear word back on if they're going to actually pick it up. So for me, it's really about just making sure that we continue to fight for the rights of those who cannot fight for themselves.
Right. Well, it's a very, very, very noble cause, and it certainly is needed. When it comes to legend, I've between this and my other show, Lighting the Educational Flame, and this show, Life Stories with Marc Hoberman, I've done over about 120 interviews now. I have my favorites that resonate with me, and I'm sure the viewers have shows that resonate with them that don't necessarily match what resonates with me. What really touched your heart in an interview from legend, whether it be a celebrity or someone not so well known? What really made you look at it and go, wow, I didn't know this? What really spoke to Joseph Bonner?
That's a hard question to ask. A hard question for me to answer because, I'm going through my own journey as well. And so there are certain things that I feel like I need to hear in those moments. And one of the things that I've loved about 90% of the people that I've interviewed is that when they're sharing their story, there's something about that story that I needed in my life in that moment. For whatever obstacle or challenge I was personally facing. And then I always ask myself, I'm like, how am I finding these interviews that specifically address exactly what I'm personally either struggling with, going through, trying to overcome, or just trying to get a better understanding of? And so I just think the timing of the interviews that I do book have always been perfectly aligned with where I am even as an individual. And it's not like I'm actually looking for interviews specifically for this. It's just they find me. So I love that about, that's why there's so many interviews that I've done that I'm like, wow, they've all been so truly impactful. I can't pick one.
That's fair. Fair enough. A little smattering of each definitely resonated with you. When you talk about your own journey, isn't there an autobiography that's either in the works or already done, the Joseph Bonner story?
Let's see, that was, oh gosh. Well, that was
Blast from the past.
I'm laughing. That's a big blast from the past, but I'm laughing about it because I don't really consider that an autobiography. Let me tell you the story behind that particular publication, and then I'll answer the second question on is there a book in the works. So that particular book that I quote unquote wrote, I don't know what I was doing, or I know where I was at. I was in my office one night and I was like, I just need to, just get some things out, just write, just document my little story as fast as I can, because I don't like wasting time. And just to get it out there. And that was when I did that book, the Joseph Bonner story. And it's like littered with grammatical errors and punctuation errors. But the purpose of that book was just for me to be able to get it out, get whatever I was holding in at that moment out. So, which was fair. But I enjoyed the story. I can always look back and be like, hey, yeah, at least I did that. And I think I literally think that book was written and published in less than 24 hours.
Right.
Literally. So, but I do have a new book on the way. It's going to be a 3-part series, and it's called The Boy Who Never Gave Up. We did release it initially about a year ago as a test. So we released it for about a month for testing to see how well it resonated with the audience. I got a lot of great feedback from it. So right now we're taking all that feedback back. We're going back, and so we should have the official first draft of the book, series 1. Part 1 out. And I would say maybe mid-November of this year.
Outstanding. We'll definitely look forward for that. I guess that'll be on Amazon and all the other places where you can find books.
Yes, sir. Everywhere you can find it. Whoever wants to pick it up, that is.
That's right. If they want it, they'll find it. Outstanding.
There you go.
Excellent. So let me just say quickly to the viewers, don't forget to watch us on E360 TV, available on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. EST, available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. Remember to follow us on social media. Life Stories with Marc Hoberman is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and of course our YouTube channel. So remember to subscribe. Joseph Bonner, thank you so much for being here today.
It's a pleasure, and you have an amazing day. Thank you for your patience and allowing us to get ourselves together to do this interview. We appreciate it.
A true pleasure.
From my team to yours.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.